carries maybe. I do want to see a bit of Viego. I want to see a bit of
Zeri?
Zeri?
I was looking more at the AD pool, Kitty, because I was going to say, last game, remember on the red side, WE banned away the Yuumi, the Zeri. Like, that bottom lane as a pairing still exists. And even though Yuumi gets nerfed in 13.1, it is a first pick here for WE.
In reality, Yuumi's Q only got nerfed a whopping 50 damage. I know she's unplayable
50.
now. 50 is unplayable. I don't know why WE decided to lock in a blue one Yuumi, but here we go. Zeri gets locked in as a response to take away the Zeri from the Yuumi, the loving pair in bot lane, which we will never see again.
Well, that's okay with me. Honestly, on other sides of the map, both of them been a pain so far, at least in solo queue. So on the other side, I'm more curious about the jungle response, Kitty, because the Wukong was locked in. The Poppy is going to be great so far against this Zeri and Wukong too.
I was excited for the Viego hover, but like the Zeri being locked in, the Poppy was a great response to such mobile champions getting locked in from the side of FPX. Sivir is a really good scaling champion that does go even up against the Zeri and Lulu, and this ball lane, I mean this game for the next coming to game 2 will be completely different. It'll be a different pace. The two ball lanes have decided to lock in scaling champions, where I'm excited to see what top lane is going to do, because Kassadin is still up and Fiora has been banned away, but Jax, we haven't seen a Jax yet.
Yeah, you're right on the money, right? Because the new Jax, where he spins his not weapon lantern around, whatever you want to call it, you know, that's something that I'd see Xiaolaohu playing. That's something that I could see Biubiu playing as well. As this Renekton's already taken away, so we are still thinning his pool. But I truly wonder if, you know, we're going to get a Kassadin ban here, or if they're just willing to shake hands and maybe pick up that new Jax as well. We'll have to wait and see, Kitty, because so far it's the Syndra once again taken away from Care. But with the Jace on the other side, I wonder if they're gearing up for a 4th pick blind up in the top side.
The Jace and Renekton gets removed from the top lane pool. I'm assuming Jax will be banned out here from the side of WE, because he remains to be the only top laner that... I mean, Kassadin is still available, but Jax does relatively okay into the Kassadin because of his buff on the ultimate, where he's just tossing out so much damage. Kassadin does get removed, and Jax is open Hysterics.
Oh, it is indeed.
It's
as you called it. I mean, you'd be right on the money again. Remember, new Jax, we would have a lot to talk about, and there we go. You get your wish. So we get new Jax here in game number 2. Against the Poppy, it's still going to be a hard game, but nevertheless, we'll have to see what Xiaolaohu can do in that solo lane, while Biubiu now has the option of a counter pick. And I'm kind of curious how it all comes together, because, Kitty, we have a really good team fighting comp so far. More engage, I feel like that's a good option.
That is a good option. The Shanks goes back on to... I'm not too sure what they're going to pick for this champion just quite yet. Sylas can be flexible in these matchups. The Poppy realistically can go top to counter this Jax because of her ability to stop jumps, right? So this Sylas is also a very good flex, where Kennen will be locked in for the side of WE, and it's also a very good counter into the Jax. So although they let the Jax open, WE did their homework and they came into the game with a lot of counters. And Poppy, Kennen being locked in here, maybe Jax won't be able to do as well as we expect.
There you go, locked in the end as well. A really good point you brought up, that we are going to see, you know, another good counter here. Biubiu setting up for some great team fighting. We can talk about that in a second, Kitty, because I want to see how FPX rounded out.
Kassadin
has his Ari available, but if we get this locked in, we know the reason why. This is plaguing League of Legends. No one likes this champion right now. The tier item is absolutely bonkers, and Kassadin on 2 items is just ridiculous, Kitty. So take it away. Talk me up.
Yes, as we enter into patch 13.1, FPX had decided to pick 2 of the champions that are reviving back into the meta, where Kassadin gets locked in as a response to the Sylas, and this is because of the Roa and Seraph's changes. So Rod of the Ages did get some slight changes to where it's very popular for mages to build, because they can definitely survive throughout the mid game and survive those very hard-hitting team fights.
In the first game, and we're going to find out if they can break their curse from last split. 0-16 to a 1-0 start. That's something I'd be hyped up for WE fans across the world as we re-enter Summoner's Rift for our second game. We've swapped sides as well. And we've just completely swapped comps as Shanks is starting us off. Lwx, good dodge with the abscond abduct. There was an issue there if Shanks landed on top of him, but thankfully he's not going to get locked in place. So WE already playing the aggressive game as we get back on the Rift.
They're just as aggressive as game one, but look at the team comp of WE. A complete 180 compared to their first team comp in game one, where they were just going in for the kills and engaging on anything that's alive in their sights. But this time we have the Sivir, we have the Yuumi, we have the Kennen. They're all very good scaling champions into the late game, but up against Kassadin, where he can also free scale because you don't have too much pressure in the early game, this can go either way.
I think as well, it's important to note that on top of the Kassadin side lane pressure there, Kitty, you know, the Jax in the side lane is still as dangerous as ever once he's got a couple of items. So I'll kind of be interested to see how FPX can play through that with the Zeri Lulu combination as well. Still definitely on the list of scaling. So for WE, Kitty, walk me through a little bit of how their comp operates here in this early game and where you want to see Heng go. You know what? You don't have time. Yeah, he's going there, right there. Hits the grop though, looking for the steal instead. But the smite comes through. It was haoye who picked that up, so he gets a bit of a heal. Heng, though, still taking the engage. But the problem is, haoye, as he flashes the hammer shock, has Conqueror up and running. The flash! Oh! Heng is a genius and an absolute chat for first blood.
100 for style points. That was so well played from Heng, and the entire engage just seemed like the entire invade, just seemed so perfectly planned out by the side of WE, and that is just Heng has been impressing me. Even with the Maokai game from game one, he is someone that I'm looking out for.
He literally just soloed out the enemy jungler, who, by the way, was on the LDL championship team. People don't understand, this team won the LDL, the secondary division of LPL. As Kitty, we watched this again, and Heng didn't actually get haoye, he got the Grom.
He didn't get haoye, and he didn't get... Unfortunately, this Wukong had a blue buff while the Poppy had a red buff, and just the combat stats and the health regen from this red. Nice flash coming out of Wukong to dodge the second Q, but this flash E is just insane from Poppy.
A really nice combo, getting first blood as Biubiu meets with haoye up in the top side. Biubiu gives him a nice little smack as he runs, but just forcing him out as the wave shoves into turret. So it could be a really nice setup here for Xiaolaohu, as another wave is on the way as well. A good wave state up in this top lane, Kitty, maybe a place for haoye to play through up in this early game.
Most definitely, and I can tell already that the top lane matchup will be the focal point for this game. We have the Kennen into Jax, while the bot lane is a complete 180 compared to game one, where they're just scaling until 30 minutes. This Jax wants to do a lot, wants to have the resources. What's happening? Again?
I mean, this team loves abuse in the jungle. haoye forced out, at least he doesn't lose his camp. But meanwhile, the roam from Biubiu, a level 3 Kennen, just to do some damage on Care, and Care has the flash because of it, Kitty. So summon her down for the Kassadin.
A really good roam coming out of Biubiu. He doesn't lose any minions, so he timed that perfectly, and he gets the flash on top of that from Care. So this is going to be a very good angle for Heng to follow up with this flash being burnt, and maybe they can punish this Kassadin before he hits that level 6 and starts dominating these team fights.
Heng loves red, let's be real.
Oh,
Two games in a row now. It's the red invade. He got it. Heng just stole away a red from haoye yet again. And I mean, this jungler's on the opposite side of the rift. Heng moves on out. Smooth Criminal now going back to his camps that are going to be respawning up towards that bottom side. Kitty, not going to have a CS lead, but with the kill lead, definitely going to have a lot of gold to go back on here when Heng finally returns to base.
That is definitely the case, but bringing it back to the top lane, like I said, they have the Yodel synergy already, but Kennen is in a counter matchup for this Jax, where he will be able to solo this Jax until a certain point into the game. I believe it's 2 items on the Jax before he starts being unbeatable in that side lane. Sylas, he's a champion that does well in the mid lane skirmishes, or the mid game skirmishes, but he can't answer this Jax, and so does Kennen, unless he gets those cheeky flanks.
Oh, he's going to be dove now, though. I mean, Xiaolaohu, not level 6, no Master at Arms. Heng starts up the camp.
Lele.
But FPX are roaming themselves. You're right. The Lulu's made her way up to the top side of the map. While meanwhile, you look at the mid lane. Shanks has hit 6 first, just goes for the all-in, steals away the nice little Rift Limp. And on top of Care, does a good bit of damage for a trade, but Care now has his own ultimate available and is just moving down towards the bottom side, looking for some Rift lettuce. I wonder he's already made the move as well, which is rare for a Yuumi to see. He just spots out Care in the process, who is thinking about going back in, but Lele, even by his side, doesn't want to risk it with Shanks so close.
I'm sorry, I can't get over. Did you just call it lettuce?
Yeah, it's Rift lettuce. I don't know, cabbage or what is it?
It's
Honeydew.
a fruit.
It doesn't matter.
What?
It's the same.
It matters. It matters so much.
It's the same thing. It's green. It's green. It's the same. No one likes honeydew, but people go up.
Wait,
for
I
lettuce.
like honeydew. Oh my god.
I don't care. It's Rift lettuce. It's the same thing. Right? Can't get upset that I'm calling it a vegetable instead of a fruit. As bottom lane, bit of a jump over the wall. Lwx trying to time that with his jungler. Well, WE trying to do something in the bot lane as well. Now, Kitty, I'll take you away from the conversation because I'll go all day
Save me
with
from
this.
the lettuce.
I bloody will. I'll ask you a little bit more about Dragon and the setup here, because we do have a later Dragon in this game, and I'm kind of wondering how we get to that point to start it up.
Yep, and with Poppy just grabbing the first blood in this game, she will have a significant item advantage.
Okay, didn't expect this one. Sorry to cut you off. Care's just been caught out, and Heng just comes on in and sets up Shanks again.
Heng has been so proactive throughout the 2-game series that we've seen so far. He counter jungles 24/7, follows up with the flashes being burnt from the solo laners. Heng is not given enough credit for his amazing debut into 2023.
That's an Ignite put. Lightning crash out onto Lwandy. The Yuumi can't remount until now. The Ignite doesn't tick over, and Lwandy survives, and that's everything burnt by FPX to try and kill this Yuumi. Getting a bit desperate in the bottom lane, trying to find a window.
We see haoye starting the Rift Herald over here, but no one has been touching this dragon because both teams want to aim to get to the point of, I believe, like 28-30 minutes where 3 items are online for all carries. But what is Shanks doing?
He's making his way through Fog of
Shanks.
War, trying to get an angle. You're right, it is Shanks coming through on the Sylas here. On the Hunt's been popped. Lwx, though, smooth move over the wall to get on out. While the rest of FPX absorb that pressure bot side, they're able to get the Herald up in the top side here, Kitty, near spawn.
A good attempt from Shanks, as we saw that Wukong was starting the Herald on Vision, but unfortunately they just weren't there in time. This dragon is going to be the next thing that is on and available for the map, but Heng...
Again, behind enemy lines. Heng just loves invading. Misses the ulti, though, which is going to cost him. As he looks for the shove into the wall, the Hammer Shock doesn't find the second proc, and Lwx just walks away. But now the bot side completely open for plates here for WE.
Like I was saying, bringing it back to the dragon conversation, none of these teams want the dragon soul point to be early in the game because they want to drag it out as long as they can. Because with the mages coming back into meta, that also means 40-minute average games are coming back to bless us, Hysterics.
True. I mean, look, we're looking at a Kassadin right now. Might not be having the best early game start, but you're right, games could actually just get longer as a result. As Care's just trying to scale up and get towards that point. haoye now hovering around this mid lane a little bit, just clearing out the camps. I'm going to wonder where he puts that Herald down, Kitty, because that might be the attempt to try and pick up the first dragon here and add pressure to one of these side lanes. Or even mid, I guess. You could drop it down and get this Kassadin a little bit of extra gold.
Most definitely. Honestly, I'm looking at this top lane matchup, and this Jax hasn't been doing as bad as expected in a counter matchup. We did see Biubiu roaming towards the mid lane and got that Kassadin flash that one time, but he is not significantly down in CS, where all the carries of FPX are comfortably scaling so far, although being two kills down.
It's definitely a better early start, isn't it? You know, when we don't have the 5v5 invade, it feels like the game is a little bit more straightforward for people like Lele, who hasn't died yet and is, as you said, comfortably scaling alongside Lwx. But Hope is quite ahead in CS for the time being. You look at the bottom side, Wave shoving in, but it's close to 10 CS in the lead there for the Sivir, while mid is the same. Shanks is holding up a CS lead, even if it's only by about 7 or 8 at the moment. Biubiu, we mentioned before, doing quite well up against this Jax. So right now, WE are holding on to 1,200 of a gold lead at the 11-minute mark. And still just waiting to see if they can push it any further as haoye is heading up to this top side. And Biubiu has to be careful. The wave is in a bad spot for him. And haoye is ready to go in. The counter-strike's there. The ulti's popped out. The Master at Arms is already through. But Biubiu flashes away in the nick of time.
Really clean flash coming out of Biubiu and avoiding the Wukong ult. But now he doesn't have that flash available for the dragon fight, which will be the next focus of this game. And I just wanted to say, haoye got a very nice revenge counter jungle on that blue buff. So Heng walked away from that topside jungle with no buffs in hand. So good for you.
True, finally getting something back against the Poppies. It's just been a nuisance this whole series so far. It is nice when you're the enemy jungler who's just been abused. And look, even taking his own red buff, that's a change in the right direction at the very least. And getting the flash up in the top side too. Maybe the ability to try and kill Biubiu is... Gets a good stun up there. Ultimate's still available, but again, that flash means he can't really follow up so far. Xiaolaohu doesn't have Master at Arms, though, Kitty, so I feel like we're going to watch this one with bated breath. Guess who's back?
Again?
Yeah, he's coming right back in. Slicing Maelstrom there. We'll find the stun up. haoye's timing just not great. Has to burn the flash, but at the very least, the kill goes down to this Wukong, who has the Herald timing out just about now, so... Timing is perfect as Lwx has to cleanse. The lightning crash down. The wild growth flash from Lele to help his AD carry is so close to still dying. But Lwx now wants to re-engage. Boomerang Blade hits only the tip and Care comes on in. The flash there on Hope. Kassadin close to getting himself a kill. We look away. Why? That's because Hope survives in the end while Dragon goes down. WE's AD stays standing while the top side can't say the same.
What an aggressive play coming out of WE's bowling. Although currently on the Sivir and Yuumi, they're still giving off the Kalista and Nautilus energy from the previous game, forcing Lwx off his tier 1 tower, and the experience from the wave where Lele has been absent in this bot lane twice now, and I can only assume that's because he's getting traded really badly where he's forced to back. And Lwx is just soloing bot lane in those instances where Hope tried to engage onto him, luckily survives by the Kassadin, like a slimmer of health, and Kassadin burns flash once again, getting nothing.
Oh, but meanwhile on our screen, I mean, Biubiu just hopping down on turret plating. That, by the way, is an on-hit Kennen up in the top side. We do have a recurve bow with a Vampire Acceptor, so Blade of the Ruined King, yep, has just been completed. That is like the shy level of build. However, without criticizing it, I have to say, we're in a brand new meta, so Kitty, I'm kind of interested because we do have ourselves a health stacker in the Jax as well as that Wukong, so it's going to do quite a bit here if he's able to duel him out.
So Biubiu went a really interesting approach when it comes to the item build. He starts off with a bulk, and that's because the Kassadin was locked in as a response to these two solo lane AP champions, where if he just goes AP like default, then no one's going to be able to kill this Kassadin because Sivir is such a short-range AD carry. The second Kassadin looks at the Sivir, she might realistically be dead even with the Yuumi.
I feel like it's going to be an important thing to note that how that build affects the game. You know, we are going to start seeing it pretty soon because we haven't seen a big fight yet, but Kitty, as you said, this game feels like it is ideal for people who want to delay it, i.e. some of these both teams late game carries. As I want to point out, Care has just hit level 11. Worth noting because the Rod of Ages is now stacking, and level 11 is, again, second level of the ulti as haoye comes in with the Cyclone. We look at this Herald fight that's just turning up. Care now looking for targets in the back line. Remember that next level of ulti is coming out huge as Heng's going to feel the brunt of it. Run away with the Force Pulse, and the first kill, maybe of many, coming over to Care, but he's not done yet. Biubiu locked up against the turret, and the Kassadin smells a free kill. All it takes is a minion wave coming through as Biubiu doesn't have the ulti. He burnt it before. haoye takes the kill, but nevertheless, an assist, a turret, and gold for FPX in this game too to equalize.
Poor Biubiu just waiting out his inevitable death under tier 1 tower. But really good things coming out from the side of FPX as Kassadin picks up a lot of gold from the Herald fight. Although Herald didn't get taken because it is despawning. Oh, it is not despawning, sorry.
Lightning crashed out though. Look, for one in the bot lane. Is the TP going to come in time? Shanks so close to killing LWX. Xiaolaohu, the hero! And LWX almost died to the turret, but thank God for the level up healing of coup de grace. Excuse me. You know what I'm talking about. Kitty, that was just impact from Xiaolaohu.
LWX runs away with murder once again, but amazing TV coming out of Xiaolaohu. He just saved LWX by the nick of time, and Shanks is feeling very depressed at this current moment because Zeri is just getting away with crime. But this Jax has been scaling relatively well into this game, and I'm very interested in seeing how he will adapt into the late game because Sylas hasn't been doing too much.
True. It's been laning phase or maybe some roams coming down. I mean, an attempt from Shanks was still good, but every time FPX get a resource on the map, the game goes longer with this Kassadin. Yeah, we do. As this was pretty close.
Really good engage coming out of Sylas. Huge sidesteps coming out of LWX. Didn't dodge the Everfrost, but look how close this stun was for LWX. Final sidestep on the Q, and he gets away. And he lives from the Triumph. This is insane.
Yep. Thank you for the correction.
Calculated.
Coup de grace, very different from Triumph, but you're right. The Triumph that saves the day is Shanks down to 1v2. Some good damage, but it's not going to stop the Herald who gets the inner turret, rather, for FPX to move them into a gold lead in this second game. Kitty, it's feeling pretty good right now. It's been a stable early game this time around, and FPX seem to have found their roots and their footing here in this series, where now we got to start being realistic. Like, I think the emphasis is on WE with what you've told me about this game to play it out and really force, I guess, some of these neutral fights earlier than expected.
They do need to start forcing fights. With the Kennen and the Sylas, they have amazing team fight opportunities. But now with the Kennen building AD, sorry, that he won't have the same effect as a full AP Kennen that can literally one-shot a carry in a blink of an eye. And with no exhaust available for FPX, that could have been the case. But AD Kennen won't be able to have the same impact, and he can only realistically match these Jax in the side lane.
Yeah, I wonder how the side lane matching, though, changes throughout the game. It'd be interesting because we did talk about the item variation that puts Jax into, you know, a kind of better swing. I really wonder how Biubiu goes in those 1v1s, as Heng is going to be walking into Care here. Nothing but Care just running back. I need to mention, Kitty, Care has 2 items. The Kassadin has a fully completed Seraph's Embrace now. We know that Lifeline has been given to this item, folks. And we are looking at so much more survivability on this level 12 Kassadin, who's got 6 stacks of the Rod of Ages as well. So, Kitty, I need to ask, at what point as FPX do you know that you just win this all-out 5v5? Has it already come, or should they still be cautious at this point in the game?
It hasn't come just quite yet. Sivir is the last hope standing for WE. But once Sivir eventually does get one shot, if the Kassadin reaches that level 16, then WE is just on a ticking time bomb. But bringing it back to the item combo that you mentioned earlier, Sylas bringing that extra survivability with his shield, and also the Roa gives bonus health and mana regen. So these teamfights can well be played off long enough so Kassadin gets a second health bar.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And you can already see, like, his natural health is quite large. So it's not like we're dealing with a squishy mage. This is the thing that's making him so oppressive, is that Care is going to be unkillable at some point. Biubiu, however, might be killable in the bottom lane as Xiaolaohu flashes in. Instant flash reminder. As Biubiu makes some pay, but Abscond Duck doesn't connect. Everfrost is there, but they caught him out in rotation. The support of FPX almost dies. Has to burn his own summoner. The ult kept intact. Care has now shown up to the party, but WE trying to get some kind of response. However, FPX all stay alive.
WE is getting desperate. They have not picked up a kill for the past 18 minutes. Not maybe 18. I'm a bit exaggerating over there. 10 minutes. It's been a while since we've seen a kill being picked up from the blue side. And this Kassadin is honestly having such a great time, and Jax is starting to win his counter matchup with his items slowly coming online. And Wit's End is going to be second for the Jax, and what is Kennen and Sylas going to be able to do to such a stacked Jax?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a new quiver that has been sitting on for quite a while now. Pointing out as well with Heng's items, maybe he's involved in the gank because it's the Juck show picked up there. I think I was talking to Rusty earlier, and what did he call it? There's some Australian quip going around at the moment.
Jackie?
No. But I tell you what, there's something I'll get to it in a second.
Out.
I'll have to do it. Shouldn't have brought it up if you don't know it. Casting 101. However, Kitty, we've got a minute 30 till Dragon coming up. We do have a third Dragon coming through as well. And while I find out, I rattle my head for what that fellow Australian has identified that item as, we'll have to see if WE can get that third Dragon, because FPX are looking hell strong. We already talked about Care. We talked about Lwx, who is 2 items big as well. And that Lulu support going to amplify that Phantom Dancer on the 225 CSAD over on FPX. They've got full control. You look at the vision here, Kitty. Dragon set up nicely.
Kitty has something to mention. The Kitty in this game has a Ludens, and she is going full AP. Really interesting buy for this game, because you are up against a Kassadin that does notoriously well into AP champions. Maybe they just felt like they were lacking that extra damage because of Sylas and Kennen being not very high DPS champions. She had to make up for it. But with the Kassadin scaling at, he's level 15 now for this third Dragon, where's the damage going to come from? It has to be from Hope.
Hope is literally last game's hero. Well, one of last game's hero. There were many. But Hope had a stellar game on the AD last time as well. This time on the Sivir, not with the IE, but still with a punch to pack. FPX move into the position around this Dragon, but Vision's being caught out by WE, and they're channeling in for the time being as well. Look, all 5 members are here on the hunt is popped as well. Heng's angle is going to be huge as it's the walk that starts us off, and haoye with the ulti, he's going to be locked down. He gets a second round up on the Cyclone while Heng sends away Care. The Kassadin out of the fight with a big shutdown over on haoye. Now WE have numbers advantage, Kitty.
I could see what Heng was trying to do in that team fight. He was going for the wide flank angle, but he was getting melted by the Zeri, who was on 2 items. And the Wukong went in up against 5 members when FPX was a bit disjointed for that team fight. So now they're doing a 4v5.
Well, you've got about 10 more seconds to go as WE look to channel on in. Lwx Xiaolaohu both out with their escape. But Dragon starts off. This would be soul point here for WE. And a Hextech soul for this team. Maybe change things as Care has caught out Heng. The level 15 Kassadin can't get in the ring though, as the Poppy needs to get in towards Dragon to get the smite down. At 2,000, it's going back up. It's resetting while Xiaolaohu decides to bring the Master at Arms back into it. Care jumps on in. FPX start obliterating, and Lwx buys his space as Shanks tries to get out of there with a flash, but Care's following suit. Golden in the nick of time as Kassadin continues to leap forward. Cares at max stacks, and no cares in the world for the mid laner with a triple denied the quadra. FPX are back in the game, or should I say series.
Beautiful team fight for the side of FPX, and they finally reached that point where the Dragon soul point has been denied.
Oh
no.
Damn. Unofficial quadra, a full-blown ace. And you're right, the soul denied, and now, Kitty, I think the Baron has just gone to.
Get a quick replay of this. Look at Kennen, this team fight. He gets a beautiful flank, a 3-man stomp onto the carries of WE with this flash ulti, while Xiaolaohu is pressuring so much the attention of WE that they don't notice that they're dying to a level 15 Kassadin. And look at the level difference between these players. This Kassadin is becoming unstoppable.
I think he was at level 11. We got to that point. We got to the 2-item mark. It's a quadra kill unofficially, by the way, with the Zhonya's Hourglass completed pretty much flat out from that last fight. Kassadin, by the way, if anyone's got a clock out there, we are up to the 16 point. We've hit the mark, and Care means business. On top of that, Kitty, we're going to get to the the 3-item mark for Lwx very shortly. We've hit the Wit's End mark for Xiaolaohu. Everything's coming together nicely for FPX. Yeah, a big level mark, right?
Level 16 online for Care on this Kassadin, and everyone else on WE has not exceeded level 14. And Kennen, being the only person this ahead in XP, has gone AD, where he hasn't had enough time to really chuck out those orders and DPS the Jax down. Because this Kassadin, 3 items online, get those ultis stacked up, they're gonna die in a second.
I mean, he's not even being matched right now by that AD Kennen, right? Pushing up in the top side while FPX are destroying these inner turrets. On the hunt has to be popped by Hope because he's scared of Care jumping on his face. And just like that, 2 turrets gone, while Biubiu will be able to trade. But a trade at this point in a negative fashion. Not going to do too much for WE here, Kitty. So FPX move up to a 6,000 gold lead. And now the side lane's so elongated with this Baron buff at work. WE just on the defense.
W's worst nightmare has come true. Kassadin has hit level 16, and the Jax is unbeatable in that matchup in a 1v1. So Jax lived relatively well throughout the entire game up until this point. 0 deaths for Xiaolaohu. This is insane in a counter matchup. Even with the Kennen going 80 to specifically counter, I guess to counter the Kassadin, this Kennen cannot go with Counter-Strike.
Oh god, wrong time. Oh, Hope is not what he has. That was just hard to witness. And now in a 2v1, Care, he's going in still, but the Zony's Hourglass is there. Remember, Heng has that protein shake. Thank you, Rusty, for the name. As we look towards that backline, it's Lwx and Xiaolaohu trying to get involved. Biubiu has to flash away. All he can do is auto-attack at the small range that Kennen has. Yeah, Jax show the Protean. Again, protein shake. Rusty, you're an absolute genius. Thank you for saving me before. It just hasn't been seen that much, hasn't been used as an initiating factor to really absorb any of the damage here, Kitty. And FPX are just getting free team fights over and over again. Now they're going to get a free base too.
Jax has definitely been. I'm gonna get brainwashed and call it Jax protein shake. I believe it's what he said.
Yeah, okay. Hell yeah, it is.
Really good start to day 1. If I ever do it, I'm so sorry. But shout out to Rusty. Love ya, buddy. This game state is looking so doomed for WE. No damage coming out of the Sylas as he has built a Everfrost with Zhonya's and leading into a Banshee's Veil. Full defense on this Sylas because he can't survive the Kassadin's burst. And with that on top, the Kennen is a full AD Kennen. If we take a look at the replay, Xiaolaohu engages straight away and he just gets shredded.
That answers that question, doesn't it, Kitty? Remember when we're like, well, I asked you, I wonder how the 1v1 looks different. It still looks pretty rough. Xiaolaohu just bops him on the head, new Master at Arms. And remember, folks, we didn't tell you about new Jax, but if you haven't seen, when the ult goes off, he gets his passive, his ult passive, every 2 strikes instead of 3. So it's hit bop, hit bop. It's a great thing to watch, especially with the damage that comes out. Already the 1v1's not looking great, and I will say, Biubiu versus Lwx, I think this Kennen just can't 1v1 anyone. He didn't even need the Lulu as Everfrost is nicely dodged. Lwx with the fancy footwork now flashed on, but here comes haoye to bring the situation, but Heng sends him out. Keeper's verdict through as Lwx is flashed into nothing. It's no stun from the Poppy, and now that Care's arrived, it's FPX who are going to bring us to a game number 3. Pack it in, take it through, a quadra kill in their first series. Care with a great revisit after game 1 was so cut and dry. This one was a stomp as well as FPX get their first game win of the split.
Definitely an amazing game coming out of Care, and I believe 4 people used Zhonya's at the last second of the Nexus exploding, so they didn't even need to use the Zhonya's for that last fight, and just how strong of those solo laners for FPX really determined the fights in the end.
Yeah, oh god, the game that should have been maybe a little bit more competitive after Heng got those early invades, right? It just kind of came crashing down, and Kitty, I'm trying to remember back what actually set this game up, and I think you and I were talking in the first 15 minutes that FPX weren't really threatened, right? There wasn't this great advantage building. About 1,500 gold lead at the max, but FPX kept picking up these heralds, delayed the dragon, got to a point where all these lanes were fine, not threatened, and could scale up quite nicely towards mid-late game.
Heng definitely tried to really accentuate the gold that was coming out from the early game. Getting that solo kill onto haoye was a huge deal, but unfortunately he didn't really follow up with that same performance into the mid game, where the Kassadin and Jax were completely unharmed throughout the rest of the game. And like you said, this Kassadin picked up a quadrukill in the second game of LPL.
I'm kind of intrigued now because we've had two completely different drafts. Like game 2 was nothing alike. Very different win conditions, very different elements in both comps, right? I'm kind of intrigued as to where we go next, because so far there hasn't been this strong identifying pick that's like, oh, this wins games, right? We looked at the Poppy there instead. We looked at the Wukong being brought out by haoye, and it didn't feel like jungle really identified that game. It just felt like the slow nature that FPX were able to play, getting the Kassadin that was left all the way through pick ban, by the way, Kitty. Like, we saw it hovered as a ban, but not committed to in the end. As a final pick was just the easy way to win it in the end.
They saw the Kennen locked in, they saw the Sylas locked in, bam, Kassa win. And that is exactly what happened if we take a look at the damage graphs. Although everyone did relatively well, Care really popped off this game because he had such an easy early game where he of course got solo killed by Shanks getting ganked by Heng, but after that, he was unleashed.
Absolutely.